Paranormal Punches is part of the Podbelly Network. Go to podbelly.com for more great podcasts.
Hey, y'all. This is Frank the Bigfoot, and you're listening to the Paranormal Punchers.
Hey, friends. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Punchers. I'm Mark.
I'm Militia.
I'm Dave.
No Nash. Nash is a busy guy at the moment. He's training for an event. He's also brewing on the weekends at a little place in Columbia, Pennsylvania called Starview. But once his event's over, once a strong man event's over, and I assume he's going to crush it, he'll be back on the mic. So train hard, bro. Yeah. Train hard. All right, on this episode, we're going to talk about the supposedly wicked haunted Pocomoke Forest in Maryland.
All right.
And then hey.
Sorry. I thought you were pausing because you wanted me to start. My bad.
Pausing because I was just taking a breath.
Stop breathing.
And on the second half of the show, we have a couple listener paranormal stories, including our very own. Something that happened to us at a pub.
Yep. Imagine that.
And we're also going to do a little movie review on a movie picked by our patrons. We'll tell you what it is in the second half, so you got to stick around. All right, hey, Alien Con. It's coming up here March 4th and 5th at the Pasadena Convention Center. You get to meet your favorite experts from Ancient Aliens. Is that like the one dude who's like, I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
Yeah.
Other shows, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, The Unexplained, and The Proof Is Out There. You can get tickets at thealiencon.com. And just a quick note, hey, if you do like the show and you listen to us on Apple or Spotify, smash that 5 stars, drop a review. It really, really helps the show.
Yeah.
All right, now, Alicia, I'm gonna kick it over to you. Okay. We're gonna talk about the Pocomoke Forest.
Okay. The Pocomoke Forest, located in the Chesapeake Bay region, is an 18,000-acre woodland that has many hiking trails, a camping area, hunting accessibility, and it is considered to be Maryland's most haunted forest. There are stories of haunted churches, the old furnace, spirits with tragic origins, and various unexplained phenomenon. Now, Chesapeake Ghost Tours operator Mindy Burgoyne said there is a connection between recorded paranormal activity and dense woodlands. And this is a quote by her. Forests have always been an otherworldly place, halfway in another dimension, throughout folklore. Halloween, fairies, and elemental stories stem from this other dimension. So there are many stories and urban legends that are told about this forest. So we're just going to kind of go over some of these, okay? This is called The Boyfriend. A boy and girl were in a car in the forest where it ran out of gas. They both heard something, so the boy got out to look for a phone or for help or whatever. He told her not to get out of the car, lock the doors, and wait for him to return. He was gone a very long time, and during that time, she kept hearing these noises on the roof of the car. She eventually fell asleep, waiting for him to return, but when she woke up, it was morning. She looked around and didn't see anything, then turned around, and that is when she saw her boyfriend's head sitting on the trunk. The sounds she had heard that night were the fingernails of her boyfriend scraping the top of the car where somebody had hung him from his feet from a tree. Basically, the moral of this story is don't run out of gas.
Oh, that's the moral of the story?
Yeah. Don't run out of gas in the Pocomoke.
In the Pocomoke.
Yep.
And I swear that was referenced in the movie Urban Legends.
Yeah, it probably was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the one that I saw the most in researching this.
Okay.
Everybody loves that story, and yeah, I'm just thinking, how did they hang him upside down without her noticing anybody through the windows?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some holes in that.
Yeah,
That legend.
For sure. Now, the Hook Man. A young couple were parking in the Pocomoke Forest, and I'm assuming parking as in
Right.
Starting to see
something
a
else.
trend here.
Yeah.
Yep.
While listening to the radio, a special bulletin came on.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
A special bulletin.
Listening to the radio.
Yeah.
I got some breaking news for you, honey.
An inmate at the Cambridge State Hospital had escaped. He was about 6 feet tall, had jet black hair with a beard, and his right hand had been cut off and replaced with a hook.
I've heard this one too.
Yeah. The reason he was an inmate, he killed people who disturbed the Pocomoke Forest. The girl, afraid, insisted that he take her home because she had heard a noise. They got out of the car for some reason, heard a clanging noise, and found a hook in the gutter next to the car. Nothing happened to them, but to this day, a man with a hook for a hand has been seen many times in the Pocomoke Forest.
Oh, so this had a happy ending.
Yeah, nobody died.
Was okay.
All right. Before we go, we should get out
Right.
where we're defenseless.
Right?
Yeah, no, you never do that.
Right.
No.
And at what point do they let people with, I'm picturing a hook as actually like a piercing
Right.
object in a prison.
No, you don't.
You'd just be murdering all the other inmates.
Well, maybe he made it out of a toothbrush.
Right, yeah.
Okay, this is called Ball of Fire. In about 1921,
In a
Paul.
boot?
I don't know. Who knows why I wrote that? Paul Walker. He was holding a.
What?
I know.
Not that one.
Yeah, I know.
It's all about
a different
family.
one.
Right.
Yep. He was holding a revival in the Pocomoke Forest. Several of the local women had been converted, but their husbands were not happy about that.
So they weren't happy about that. I wonder what they mean by converted.
I know. I don't know.
Listening to the radio.
Right. The group of men, they got together with their guns and wanted to beat up the Mr. Walker as well as burn the church down. When they got to the church, the leader of the group got up to the front door. It was open, but he couldn't get in. He was paralyzed. As the others tried to get in, a ball of fire hit the roof. It split in two and went down the sides of the church, scaring them all away. And I guess I didn't write this down, but apparently the whole thing is like this ball of fire saved Paul Walker.
Right.
But I mean, it burned down his church, so I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. And that one I was interested in, what was the origin of this? Like, did it come,
Right.
straight up from the, the sky? Was it like hurled like from a catapult or something?
Right.
Yeah, and I was trying to look up some stuff on that because I was curious if it was like a cult. Because
Right.
he converted
Right.
the town. The men were upset, wanted to, as you said, beat him up.
Yep. Beat him up and
With
burn
guns.
his church. Yeah.
Well, I have a story for you
Do it.
that I found. This is also one of the most famous legends of the Pocomoke. But this, Dave, hear me, is about a murderous six-fingered man.
Is Wesley there?
Excuse me, do you have six fingers? Dude, he was a sea captain. So the legend goes that he made his money smuggling things up and down the river and used it to build what is called the cellar house. And he built this house, and it was kind of as like a gift to his young bride. Hey, honey, I built you a house. So being a sea captain, sometimes you have
go to sea?
You have to go to sea.
Right.
With the other seamen. And so he was out on a long voyage, and, well, in that time, she fell in love with another dude, and got pregnant. But that dude. So she fled and went to that guy's town. But at some point she just couldn't take it, and she wanted to return to the six-fingered man and ask him to please take me back. So she hired a dude who had a raft, and with the little baby and the raft driver. I don't think that's
Right.
the actual title,
Right?
But the rafter. So they start off down the river, but something happened and the raft tipped over. The raft guy, he drowned. The baby drowned, but she managed to get ashore and get over to the cellar house. Found her husband, told him the tragic news, and the six-fingered man stabbed her to death. And it is said to this day, people can hear the cries of the bride and her baby, along the river and near the house. And they say her blood stains the floors where she was murdered. And this is even after people bought the cellar house and they renovated it and they replaced those boards. And the blood stain still shows up.
Oh, boy.
And also, people report that, again, at parking in the Pocomoke Woods, sometimes they'll check their car and they'll see a six-fingered handprint.
Ooh.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah. I can't imagine the going back to him. Like, this wasn't a nice guy. He, everything I saw, he was not usually labeled as just a six-fingered man. He was labeled as a murderous six-fingered man before he even killed his wife. So it's like, apparently deterrence doesn't work because
Yeah.
I still have the good idea. I'm just going to go back to him. And,
Right. Oh, jeez. Now, don't think I have any other urban legends, but I do have some
I do.
other. Oh, you do? Go for it.
Well, maybe it's not an urban legend, but it kind of goes in with that fireball. So this is more of a recent situation. But a man from Westover, he was driving through the Pocomoke Forest, and he saw what he could only describe as this bright, fiery object burning like a yellow and green. It came down and blocked the road right in front of him. And as you do, he drove a little closer to it, got a little closer. He said the thing got brighter and brighter. And then his car shut off when he was like really close to it. And now he was up close, it looked more like a flaming yellow box. And then after a few minutes, it disappeared and his car started back up again.
Weird.
yeah.
The end.
All right. So, Furnace Town is a town that's like right on the outskirts of the forest or whatever. So this isn't in the forest per se, but this is a thing that apparently I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart. They attribute it to the Pocomoke Forest.
Right.
Okay.
The brain fart?
No, not the brain fart.
okay,
no, the Furnace Town.
Although I bet that happens often.
Furnace Town was operated by the Maryland Iron Company in the 1800s and is located on the edge of the Pocomoke Forest. About 300 people lived in the area and worked mines and iron furnaces until 1850 when that company went into bankruptcy. Samson Harmon, he lived there. He ended up passing away in another town, but his final wish was to be buried in Furnace Town. It didn't happen. They didn't grant his wish. But apparently it's believed that the spirit of Samson Harmon and his cat supposedly haunt the area.
Yep. Well, all the stray cats, He's like his
That,
ghost.
the band? All the stray cats?
Apparently his ghost is a friend of the stray cats, so
Okay.
like he hangs out with them, and I don't know if you'll see him with the cats but yeah, I just saw a thing about the stray cats love this ghost.
Interesting. Now, there is apparently a child haunting. 3-year-old Annie Connor. She died on one of the bridges in 1875. It was a horse cart accident during a storm. But apparently you can hear her cries there.
Okay.
You can hear a child crying. Let's see.
I wonder how they know that it's her and not the baby from
I don't know.
the captain.
Yeah, because they do attribute a woman weeping and a baby crying to her as well.
Right.
But now, apparently, there's a goat man
Yeah, I saw
who's seen there.
Yep.
But I couldn't really find a whole lot about it, like a bunch of stories. I just saw like a blurb or whatever. But he is apparently the Bigfoot of the Pocomoke Forest. According to local legend, he is a man with the head of a goat with huge horns. He is light on his feet and survives by eating small animals or fish that he catches in the river. He is seen in the swamp where no other creature could walk without sinking. So they see him actually walking in it. But
And that would be, I guess, scary, but I just had this thought. Did you know how much I love goats? But what if the goat man would be like a combination of one of those mini fainting goats and a human?
Right.
Not very threatening now, right?
Right.
Because any loud noise, the goat man would just fall over stiff as a board.
Yep.
So yeah, you wouldn't want to be combined that way.
Right. Yep. I do find it funny that he's characterized as the Bigfoot, but has absolutely nothing similar with Bigfoot.
I know, yeah. He's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know why they...
I'm sure Bigfoot's like, no, I'm the Bigfoot of the Pocomoke Forest.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I just have some random hauntings or whatever, but so sounds of a woman screaming for help or the sound of a baby crying, people attribute that to the sea captain's wife and her
like I
child.
said.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I'm number one?
Yeah, you
Thanks,
are.
dear.
Yep. On the ghost tours, which we'll bring up the ghost tour here. But the ghost tours, visitors have seen apparitions and have caught things on film, and they were even touched by something not there. People have seen shadows. They have seen somebody or something coming up behind them, or not behind them, but you know what I mean, that are faceless, which is weird. It is actually common for people to die in the Pocomoke River, though. Mindy, I mentioned her at the beginning. She says, "This is Maryland's most haunted river. Pocomoke means Black River. When you fall into the Pocomoke River, about 6 feet below, there's no ambient light. It's total darkness because of the color of the water that's affected by the bald cypress trees." There are many stories of people falling into the river and then never being found. For example, Joby Emmons and his son. His son slipped and fell between a boat and the bulkheading. So he jumped in after him, but they both drowned. People say that they have seen the spirits of Joby and his son walking along the river, but not really. They're gliding.
Yeah.
And tourists have seen strange lights, and some have even felt a touch on the shoulder or even their hair being pulled. Now, Mindy says, "We were in the hardwoods, and I felt this rustling in the brush right in front of me. Thinking it was an animal, she shined her light through the brush, but there was nothing there. She shrugged it off, thinking it was nothing, and continued on. As we came back along the boardwalk, we were pelted with little stones from above in the trees, all the way down. By the time we got 3/4 of the way down, I started running, and I said, everybody out. So they were getting stones thrown at them.
Right.
Which is crazy.
But
Yeah, see, that's Bigfoot.
right.
Right?
If you're walking along the path and as you're going, they continue to pelt you with these stones. Go back or go around,
Right.
or
Well, I think they went down the path and then they were trying to get back.
Okay.
Or start throwing them back.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And then all I have next is just the ghost tour or whatever that they have down there. It's called Into the Haunted Forest, the Pocomoke Ghost Walk. It begins with the Pocomoke River Walk, where the guide will describe how the river takes one life a year. If it misses a year, it will take two the next. It's the deepest river for its width. It's the deepest river for its width in the USA and the second deepest in the world. You'll also,
Wow, sounds like it's deep enough to hold an ancient evil that pulls people under.
Right.
So yeah, I think you start in the forest or whatever, and then you go to like the towns that are right on the outskirts. And they have in their website, it says this walk can be very scary for children, and they have that like all in bold and all caps. But so parents use discretion whether your kids can come. But it takes about 1.5 hours.
They're getting on your nerves. Take them on the tour.
Right. It takes about 1.5 hours. It's 1 mile. And they say bring an umbrella if you need to, like if it's going to rain, comfy shoes, a flashlight, and your camera.
Okay.
So.
What about a proton pack?
Yeah, you might need
Maybe.
it. I didn't tell Dave this yet, but Dave and I have been doing some hiking and some geocaching. In fact, last week, we even climbed into like a cave and we found the Ark of the Covenant.
Yep.
It was part of the geocache. It wasn't the real Ark.
Right. Well, we don't know that, but
So, well, I mean, our faces didn't melt.
Right, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I was looking, because we're trying to find a cabin for a little getaway. I was looking at cabins in the Pocomoke. I thought, like, let's go down and see
Yeah.
if we could geocache and
Yeah.
have an ancient evil take us.
Right.
I mean, not that part. I don't want that part to happen.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. Could be a interesting getaway.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was surprised how close this is to like the beaches of Maryland. It's just inland from like Ocean City, Maryland, and things like that. So
Right.
I never knew it was there. As many times as I visited that.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I did have two others that I found, real quick.
Speak.
Yeah. So one, this was actually more at the on one of those outskirt towns, not in the forest itself.
Right.
But apparently the local theater is haunted by this ghost, but he's a friendly ghost. So that people who get lost or can't figure out what's going on, he'll turn on lights and really just help them out find their way through things.
Very helpful. Yeah.
Right. Yep. And then the other one was a random story of the a Bible that can't be removed from this church. And it apparently, if you try to remove it, as you get closer to the door, it just gets heavier and heavier until by the time you're at the door, you just cannot lift this Bible anymore.
Right.
So it I don't know if that's really a haunting, but
Right. It's weird.
Weird. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. The Pocomoke Forest. Sounds like an interesting place to check out.
Yeah.
For sure.
See if you have your own ghost experiences. I don't know, Dave, if we'll stay at a cabin there, but if we do, we should also take, besides bourbon and scotch,
Right.
we might want to take an EMF detector and a couple other things like that.
Right. And an extra gas can.
And our brown
Yeah.
pants.
Right. Yeah.
This guy gets it. He's wearing brown pants.
Yep.
All right. Why don't we take a quick break? We're going to come back with a couple listener paranormal experience stories, our own little story, and our movie review. We'll be right back. And we're back. All right. That was interesting. I do want to explore it. And I did look up on the geocache sites. There are some geocaches to get down there.
Nice.
So we can go down to the Pocomoke and explore and kind of double double duty it. Grab a
Right.
couple caches and a couple ghost
Right.
explorations.
Do any of the geocaches include a hook for a hand or a severed head?
No, but it'd be interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to set up a geocache in the Pocomoke, play into some of
Right,
the
yeah.
legends. So, yeah, I like it. All right. Why don't we kick things off here with listener story from Pamela. Now, this Pamela dropped this on an Instagram post that you made about, hey, tell us about, a scary paranormal experience. So here we go. For background, I grew up in a haunted house in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My mom heard stuff. My sister and cousins saw a female ghost. We saw the dog being petted, etc. The female ghost was pretty benign. The male ghost was not. We never saw him, but we felt his menace.
Cool.
For example, the stairs to the basement, the third step down, was always cold, and people often felt two hands on their back pushing them. One of my friends was pushed so hard that he hit the wall 4 feet from the bottom of the steps. He never came over again.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to my story. So as a kid whose parents had an old Ouija board, I brilliantly decided to try and communicate with the household ghosts. Just once. Bad move on my part. It started okay. Standard kid questions and all. But it got dark. And when I tried to stop doing it, the planchette burned my fingers and hit the wall. I hit the stairs right after it was out of there. The blisters were gone within a half hour, but I was freaked out. I did not go back in the house until my folks came home, and when I did, I packed that game up and shoved it under the other games and never touched it again. Years later, I moved in with a witch who was interested in a Ouija board art piece. I had to tell him my story so he understood why that would be a deal breaker thing to ever have in my home. Ouija board equals ban hammer. Anyway, other than some sleep paralysis issues, that is my scariest paranormal experience. My best is having a ghost cat, but that is a story for another day.
oh,
Well, thanks, Pamela.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if that's the worst story, like, it's pretty frightening.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be absolutely frightening. But never close the board.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I wanted like a Ouija art piece for the clubhouse. And Alicia was like, absolutely not.
Right. I was like, do not
Right.
bring this into our house.
So I didn't get it up. We heard from Indiana Johnny. Hey, guys. I just woke up this morning and discovered something weird. If you remember when I told you about the movies on my shelves being moved around, we actually do Indiana Johnny because we used that when we did our live show in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Where was I? Okay. Well, this morning it has happened again. 2 of the DVD cases were flipped upside down. 2 of my VHS tapes had been moved slightly. And 3 DVDs had been completely swapped around with each other onto different shelves. I want to blame my roommates for this, but it just isn't something either one of them would do. Last time, it all stopped when I finally bought the DVDs I was considering buying at the time. I'm trying now to figure out what the message is they're trying to convey to me now.
Right.
I don't know. I know maybe buy some more DVDs.
Right.
I didn't think much of it until now, but I have some Funko Pop minis from The Office sitting in front of my TV that recently random ones seemed to get knocked over during the night. It may be connected. It may not. Just thought it was interesting. And then shortly after messaging us that, I got another message from Indiana Johnny. I had something new happen this morning. I had just eaten breakfast and headed downstairs to get ready for work. My room is in the basement. I was the only one up in the morning, like always. I get up early and my roommates are still asleep when I leave for work. I had just gotten downstairs. It was in the hall when I heard the floorboards in the living room creaking. There is one spot in the living room where the floorboards creak, and it is right in front of my DVD shelves. The creaking kept up, like somebody was just standing in that spot, swaying back and forth from one foot to the other. I tried ignoring it and got myself ready for work. When I went back upstairs to put on my shoes, I was looking around, checking the DVDs to see if anything had been moved, and checking the mini Funkos, and nothing seemed to have been messed with. When I sat down to put my shoes on, I heard what sounded like somebody running back and forth along the upper stair hallway between my roommates' bedrooms. It was kind of a crazy morning. Wow. Maybe there is a ghost and he's messing with your DVDs.
Right, yeah.
Or could he have been there swaying, trying to pick out what he's going to watch once Johnny goes to work?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, then the ghost grabs a DVD and a drink and sits in front of the TV.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Johnny. Appreciate it. And here is one from the three of us. Mm-hmm. Now, we were at a local brewery called Moo Duck, and we were just shooting the breeze about stuff. We were talking with the one bartender, Jay, and all of a sudden, this glass, it flies off the shelf and smashes pretty much right at Jay's feet.
Yeah.
Now, when I say Jay wasn't near the shelf, he didn't bump the shelf. I can't remember exactly what he was doing, but I saw it fly off and hit the ground. Like it was knocked off by a ghost cat pretty forcibly.
Right.
And I know you saw it because we looked at each other like, you saw that, right?
Right.
And we just have been talking. Were we talking about ghost stuff?
Yeah, we were.
Because every time someone brings up ghosts, Jay's always like, well, these guys will tell you about stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And then this happened within minutes of bringing up ghost stories.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I saw it with my own eyes. There was no one near that shelf. Right. And it flew off.
Yeah. No, it almost looked like it flew off with force.
Yeah.
Like it was thrown in a way.
I didn't see it, but I heard it. And just the sound, it was definitely like, that wasn't just a glass falling off a shelf. And,
No, it broke with
tremendous force.
Yeah, like it was thrown hard to the ground.
Yep.
Yeah. And I thought it was super weird.
Yeah.
Well, you missed it because you were talking to Bliggs,
right?
Your new friend. I couldn't believe it. I said to you a couple times, you saw that, right?
Yeah.
And then even Jay was trying to justify. He's like, I wasn't near this shelf. Also, I was like, why was there a glass right there?
Right.
Was that one of the logo cups that they sell on that shelf, or why? Why was it there?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do have the tradition, if the bartender breaks a glass, everybody claps and cheers. So that's why Jay was like, no, this wasn't me. I wasn't anywhere near this one.
So I thought that was weird. Now, there's no storm. No one really has any stories, per se, about this building. Because it's not like an old building. Nothing haunted. Now, Jay said that sometimes weird things do happen.
Right.
And he's always, I always want to tell you guys.
Yeah.
But I always forget. But it's not like... I mean, I guess it could be built on a Native American burial ground.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe we should look into it.
Yeah.
Get some free beers if we get rid of the ghost for you.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I don't think we would make things better.
No, I don't think so either.
All right. If you have a paranormal story you would like to share with us, just go to paranormalpunchers.com and you'll find all the ways to contact us. We would love to hear from you. And I think if it's okay with y'all, if you send us a story, we read it on there, we'll send you a sticker.
Yeah.
Just as a thank you for letting us read your story. All right. Now, I think we did this a little bit on the last episode. We had a movie review. And it's something I think would be kind of fun to do, discussing movies that are in the paranormal realm. This one, not so much, but I did throw it out to our patrons. Like, hey, we're talking about a haunted woods, so we want to watch and discuss a movie that takes place in the woods. And I threw out Evil Dead, The Blair Witch Project, I forget another one, and Tucker and Dale versus Evil. So this is more of a horror comedy, but this is the one that our stellar patrons picked for us, and we're going to discuss it here. Lish, kick us off with a couple deets because I need to crack a fresh beer.
Of course. So Tucker and Dale versus Evil, that came out in 2010. The director is Eli Craig. I think he's done a couple TV shows, but he's also done Little Evil. He directed, what was it? Little Evil. And I can't remember
That
who
Netflix movie?
Yeah. It stars Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk from the best sci-fi TV show ever, Firefly. He played Wash. Yep. And still, was that Fox TV? Canceled it too soon.
I know. We
should have had like 5 seasons of that show.
Right. Yeah.
I would argue that it's better than Star Trek. Shots fired.
I know. I was like,
I'm just joking. That would be for Nash. He knows.
I was going to say, he's bulking up, right?
I can run faster.
yeah.
Yeah. Keep going.
Okay. So the in IMDb, their headline was, or the tagline was, "This year, spring break is cut short." And the description is 2 lovable hillbillies.
Wow, that was
I know.
What happened there?
I don't know. They are headed to their fixer-upper vacation cabin.
Now, mind you, the cabin, when they get up to the cabin, it is literally a murder cabin.
Oh, yeah.
It, in fact, the set designers and the director, they modeled it after the cabin from like Evil Dead. But when they kept saying vacation home,
right.
I'm like, I would just, I sunk every penny into our vacation home. I'm like, I don't know how much it costs, but you should probably see if you can flip it and get out of there.
Yeah. So they're going to their vacation cabin to drink some beer, do some fishing, and have a good time. But when they run into a group of preppy college kids who assume from their looks that they must be inbred, chainsaw-wielding killers, Tucker and Dale's vacation takes a bloody and hilarious turn for the worse.
Now, I actually think the movie is it's really funny. It's a great indie horror comedy. I know they struggled with making the money back that was invested to make it because they were like too funny to be taken as horror, too bloody to be rewarded as comedy. So they struggled. But I think it rides. Now I can't talk. It rides a great line of being funny, having like call outs to other horror movies, having the college kids be just stereotypes.
Oh, yeah.
But it's so intentional stereotypes, which I hope elevates the comedy. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the stereotype is they look like the hillbilly murderers, but they're sweethearts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just trying to fix up their murder cabin.
Right.
Which they had to dig an outhouse. I'm like, okay, now I'm definitely, this doesn't sound like a vacation place to run. Yeah. Yep. I know you had a couple other notes here.
I do. It premiered at Sundance in 2010 and had a limited theatrical release. It grossed $223,838 in the U.S. And it grossed between $5 and $5.3 million outside the U.S. Now, in an interview with Choice Cuts, the director expressed thoughts on a sequel titled Tucker and Dale Go to Yale. And described it as Good Will Hunting meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Hell yeah.
In that same interview, he also liked Alan Tudyk's idea of doing a sequel that was similar to From Dusk Till Dawn. At Horror Hound Weekend 2014, Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk, they confirmed that a sequel is in development. In 2016, the two revealed that they are still actively developing the project despite other commitments. When asked of the status of the sequel at Boston Comic Con 2017, Alan Tudyk responded that a script had been written, but it was disappointing and unlikely to be moving forward. So obviously it's 2023 and I don't think there's any talks of a sequel. So
Right.
Yeah, so in the movie, of course, our lovable main characters, they're going to go start fixing up their cabin, which needs a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Start doing some work in the day. You want to relax in the evening, have your beers and go night fishing.
Mm-hmm.
So they were out fishing. College kids, they're I don't know if they're camping in the woods, and they're like, "Oh, what's those skinny dipping?" Because again, that's what happens in most movies when you're in the woods. You go skinny dipping, then the killer shows up. But they scare the one girl that's climbing on a rock. She falls in, and they jump in and rescue her. But they're yelling stuff like, "We have your friend!" And the college kids just make it seems like a threat. Like, oh my God, they kidnapped our friend.
Yep.
Hey, college kids, we have your friend.
Yep.
But they take her back to the murder cabin, and because she bumped her head, and they're helping her, and the hope. We'll go find their friends, and they're just all about helping. But in the meantime, the college kids are going to find the cabin, and they're trying to plan on how to get in there and save their friend. And it's the next day, and Tucker's out. This is one of my favorite scenes. He's out cutting up a log, and they cut to inside the log, and you see his chainsaw is about to come down on a beehive.
Right.
And he cuts into it. Bees are swarming everywhere. So he starts waving the chainsaw at these bees and running, which was supposed to be an homage to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Right. But from the college kid's point of view, he looks like a complete and utter psycho. And he's running with the chainsaw. This other kid starts running away. He's watching, and he runs right into a pointy stick and kills himself.
Yep.
So that's like the first death.
Right.
And then things continue to happen in such a just strange way. The wood chipper scene.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, just in case you haven't seen it, I'm not going to continue to tell you too much. And then there's a little mystery about one of the college kids. It plays out in the end.
Right.
I really enjoyed it. Now, I would like to read you a quote from another reviewer of this movie. Okay. Let me find it here. Nope. I almost got it. Stand by.
Yep.
The other reviewer is Dave, and I'm scrubbing back through our comments here together. Let's see. Okay. So Dave, and this is a direct quote. "I wasn't that impressed. Didn't resonate with me. Might be because I wasn't drinking." Dave, tell me about that.
I don't know. The college kids really got on my nerves, and I know they were supposed to be, stereotypical for horror movies and everything, but it just seemed it didn't feel like a good caricature of them. It just felt like, oh, these are just annoying people, and I don't want to sit here and watch them. And then the hillbilly aspect, it just that felt a little overplayed. And, yeah. So it, it was entertaining, and I wouldn't label it horror at all. Like there was no
Right.
horrific,
It was more comedy.
Right.
There was some blood.
It was like a horror satire, type of thing. But it's worth a watch. It's it just. I would much rather have watched something like that than Blair Witch Project or something.
Oh man, why? Well, that's all. We should have that on the list. You're going to watch the Blair Witch Project,
Right?
Yeah.
But to finish this out, I highly recommend it. 2 thumbs up, whatever. If you like that kind of thing, horror comedy, I think it's a boatload of fun. I know we got a couple other little tidbits we have here. But one that I found interesting because I went as Tucker one Halloween and had to make my outfit and get it all bloody. So Alan Tudyk hated the fact that there was only enough money to provide him and Tyler Labine one set of clothes. Oh. That's what they wear throughout the movie. So obviously the clothes get progressively dirtier and smellier throughout the production and get covered in increasing amounts of the red KO syrup, which would harden overnight and require everything to get soaked in water to soften the fabric enough that Tudyk and Labine could get dressed, meaning the two were damp and cold in the mornings and hot and sticky in the afternoons.
God.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't sound like fun.
No. I guess there's a special feature on the DVD that plays the movie from the college kids' perspective.
Oh.
And Tucker and Dale, they're murderous villains in that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I know.
Yeah.
I kind of actually want to
Yeah.
see
Kind of want to.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't.
But-
we watched it on Amazon Prime. It's
Yeah.
Amazon Prime. It's free.
Yep.
But if I had the DVD, I'd love to see how they twisted that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the movie, Tyler Bean is wearing his hat. It says Giver, Giv apostrophe ER. Now he put it on because it's Giver because he is like this kind of person. But apparently, it's the equivalent of get her done in Canada.
Yeah.
I don't know how,
Yeah.
why. If any of our Canadian friends, like how does Giver also equate to Larry the Cable Guy's get her done?
Right.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I just have another thing that I thought was kind of interesting. Alan Tudyk, at one point in the movie, he's got all those bee stings. And he actually came up with the idea to pour beer on his face to treat his bee stings. But
I did like that, the running gag of like every time he needed any kind of first aid, it was open a PBR and pour it on him.
yep.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. Our goal here maybe would be to kind of pair a movie that goes with the topic. So
Right.
I found a list of other movies. The Evil Dead, the 1981, that is on Prime Video. The Ritual, which is on Netflix.
And that was really good.
That one's really good. That's about some dudes going on a hiking adventure, and they cut through this woods, and there's some ancient evil there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you might really like that one.
Okay.
And the Blair Witch Project was the other one. But 67% Tucker and Dale, so that's the one we watched.
Yep.
And Larry G says on Netflix we should check out Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight 1 and 2, and they're both on Netflix.
Okay.
All right, so if you like this, I think it'll be fun to talk about paranormal. We're calling it Cinema Paranormal. Now, this one wasn't paranormal.
No.
Right.
But it's a boatload of fun,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Lish, your opinion?
No, I love that movie. And I honestly, I love Alan Tudyk.
Yeah.
Anything he's in, I'm like, yep, I'm in. So,
Dave was unimpressed.
right.
But maybe I'll watch it again with some beer and see how that goes.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's a good recommendation.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we say goodbye?
I don't think so.
I was talking about our patrons. If you would like to help the show out, $1. We have one level. It's $1. You can be part of the club, and you'll get episodes early and ad-free.
Right.
You'll get to, be part of the polls and pick stuff, topics, movies we watch, and you get to see any experimental content we're working on before anybody else, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Thank you so much. Can't say thank you enough for listening to the show.
Right.
I guess I can say it twice in a row. If it's not weird, no, I did it wrong. And remember, if it's not weird,
It's not worth checking out.